Capital is anything that can be used to generate wealth over time. This can be financial assets, money, or tools used to generate profit. The first group that was designated as capital in the 17th century were African Americans. Capitalism is an economic system that believes in capital accumulation, accumulating things that generate wealth. So, since human labor is capital, that means societal evolution is heavily driven by the capitalist relationship with human labor. A very common phrase we'll hear is that capitalism requires a permanent underclass. First it was African Americans, and now it's working class and the rich. Due to private appropriation, in which the capitalist owns the means of production, the tools and the machinery to keep the workers working, that means he gets to keep the difference between the sales and the production prices. This is a contradiction in itself, because if you have someone keeping the difference between the sales and the production costs, that means there will be a person on the end short-handed. However, that's one of the natural contradictions of capitalism. One that is more remote, or the one that keeps worsening, is the extraction of surplus value, which is just leftover human labor. Let's say a worker works 10 hours, but they're only paid 6 of those hours. Now there are 4 hours that the capitalist gets to extract from and keep the profits. This is absolute surplus value. This relationship keeps getting negated by labor unions and strikes that demand more pay or less work days. This is why Reagan, when he was on this neoliberal campaign, he dismantled labor unions. That surplus value is constantly being extracted from, and is constantly appropriated. People believe that the billionaire should keep his wealth because he took the risk. Or they believe that the worker doesn't produce more value than it takes the employer to hire them or maintain their business. This capital accumulation happens much faster when you have a bigger group maintaining all the labor. So now it's just the working class and the rich. Capitalism is not natural, but it's so easy to maintain when the permanent underclass is one specific group or many groups. African Americans happen to be the first group of capital. The ethics of the permanent underclass are constantly undermined due to things like white supremacy. If a group is going to be constantly poor or permanently poor, then it must be an African American. But now, since you can't be openly racist, you can be openly classes. And classes comes in many forms, but those who deserve to be part of the permanent underclass are those who have been politically failed, or those who are consequences of deeply entrenched economic inequalities. All the isms and the phobias, these are things that make it way easier to masquerade a permanent underclass. If the permanent underclass is someone that you don't like, rudimentary world history class, even in middle school or high school, you know that Europeans use the ideology of African Americans being deserving of colonialism or conquesting. Racism allow other groups to subjugate other groups, and now racism allow capitalism to choose who gets to be the permanent underclass, and now classism naturalizes the consequences of racism and capitalism.